Now, I have a beef with the name of this episode. It has nothing to do whatsoever with what the episode is actually about. This is not an episode about memory. This is not some strange amnesia thing. No, this is that time-honored trope of genre television. What if I could go back into the past and change what I did, and wouldn't the world be a better place? Psst. Spoilers. It never is. Shh. Anyway, the set episode, apparently every year on the anniversary of his death, Xena goes to this Temple of the Fates and does some sort of offering thing for her dead brother Lycius. And this is weird on a couple of counts. 1, this is the first we've heard about this. 2, why would you go to the Fates? He's already dead? I mean, if like, he was still alive and you wanted to be like, no, don't let this be his destiny, I can see going to the Fates, but they have cut that thread. He is gone. I don't know what she's hoping to gain. Anyway, so Xena's hanging out in this Temple of the Fates, and they get attacked by bandits. And I'm not entirely sure why bandits would attack this temple. Anyway, Xena has to fight off the attackers, and it's all going swimmingly until she kills a guy, and it turns out it's not a guy. It's like a teenager with like the fluffiest hair I have ever seen in my life. I swear it's like fluffy. And Xena goes inside afterwards, and she angsts, and she's just like, oh, what have I done? And then suddenly, magically, the Fates appear, and they're like, ooh, Xena, in a strange way, we will tell you that you have gotten a reward for helping us at our temple. What would you like it to be? And Xena, in her very angsty, stoic way, is all, ugh, I don't want a reward, I've just killed a boy, and I wish I had never followed the sword. Which pretty much means it's time for the doodly-doodly-doodly-doodly-doodly-doodly thing. Because Xena goes outside and she's all, Gabrielle? Gabrielle! And she's turning around and then she looks down and she's wearing like a Renaissance fair costume, and suddenly we're in the revised timeline. But apparently this means that Xena is now just a peaceful tavern keeper with her brother Lycius, and everything is lovely, and aren't we all so happy? We're not going to be happy for long. We never are. We do around this time meet the villains of this episode, and they have names, and like, I had a real issue with names this time, because normally either they don't register at all, and I spend the entire time calling them what their facial hair is, or I don't know, like, sometimes I make an effort, and this time I did make an effort, and I have no idea, because I swear they changed pronunciations and names of things, like, halfway through the episode, and I was like, whatever. But these villains, I'm really sorry, but I think they're called Mentos and Kraken, and I don't think that's right, especially because they're gonna get joined at some point towards the end of this episode by a third warlord dude, who I think is named Confucius, and I don't think this is where the show intended me to go. So, with the introduction of these warlord dudes, it is time to learn how this is not what Xena actually intended. Things are rotten to the core. But I know that there's like this slaver dude, and he's got all these slaves, and he's being a jackass, and then Xena pulls the rug out from under him, literally, and then she meets Gabrielle. Except this is Gabrielle. She is changed in this version of reality, because this Gabrielle is a downer. Xena kind of flips out when she sees Gabrielle and tries to step in and protect her from the asshole slaver dude, and so Mr. Smarmy Fiancé Dude, that is just what I'm gonna call him, Mr. Smarmy Fiancé Dude, comes in and like kind of smooths things over and gets Xena out of it, because it turns out that Mr. Smarmy Dude is a tool, and this is unfortunate, and he and Xena have these arguments because she thinks slavery is, you know, a bad thing, and he's like, ooh, don't rock the boat, Xena, that's just the way the world is, smarm, 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 tool, tool, tool. And in the middle of this argument, Mr. Smarmy Fiancé tries to pull this whole, and you can't change the world, Xena, no matter what you think. And he basically, like, mansplains in the most condescending way possible that she just doesn't understand how it works, and this is, let me mansplain for you and let you know, little woman. And this is particularly funny because I think there's a credit sequence that would beg to differ with its whole da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, her courage will change the world. So it's at this point that the episode really starts to get Anvilicious about, you know, how terrible things are and how no one is ever going to step up and stop them. And Lycius wants to be that person and wants Xena to help him, but the whole caveat of the deal with the face is that as soon as Xena, like, draws blood and anger, then everything will go back to the way it was. So Xena has to be like, no, I cannot fight with you, Lycius. I'm sorry, but I can't explain. And Xena gets that look on her face. And the next thing we know, she is sneaking into the warlord dude's place in this conveniently hay-filled cart. Xena finds Gabrielle inside this castle fortress warlord dude hangout and tries to convince her that she's come to help her and that they need to escape together. And Gabrielle is like, I don't think so. I am here beaten down by the forces of oppression. You cannot get me to change. And Xena is very, oh, Gabrielle, if only you knew yourself like I did. And Gabrielle gets a little freaked out by this, as well she might, because here's this crazy lady come into her space and is trying to tell her all these things about herself, which are not exactly true. And Gabrielle is all like, you don't know me. But something Xena says must have made sense, because at some point in their conversation, which we do not see, Xena convinces Gabrielle to hide her in a cask of mead, which she then laboriously rolls out to the main kitchen area, and Xena springs out from the cask of mead like she's a stripper named Gladys and it's a birthday cake. I don't understand why, but she does, and she starts attacking the soldier dudes, and somehow they manage to catapult themselves out of this kitchen, I think through the chimney. I'm not entirely clear. And I swear to God, there are rocket noises when Xena is, like, flying up through the chimney. There are rocket noises, and it is special. And she and Gabrielle make their escape and come back to she and Lycius' hotel. So everything seems to be going swimmingly until suddenly Mr. Smarmy Fiancé dude bursts into the room with some of the slaver dudes because he has made a deal with the slavers to give them back Gabrielle and they spare everyone else. But of course, when you make deals with bad men with evil goatees, this will never work. And so Xena and Lycius and Gabrielle all get taken back to the slavers and then locked up in giant iron bird cages. It's really weird. Luckily, giant iron bird cages suspended from the ceiling are apparently a great chance to have even more heart-to-hearts, and so Xena talks to Lycius, who drops us with some more Anvilicious words. I'd rather die fighting these bastards than live with myself if I don't. And meanwhile, Gabrielle in her cage is all like, yeah, Xena, you pretty much suck. Like, I got to be free for all of half an hour, and I was doing really well, living with no hope, and then you basically screwed me over, thanks a lot. I secretly kind of hate you. But Mr. Smarmy Fiancé dude comes to his senses and somehow makes it into this fortress and lets everybody down from their great big iron bird cages, and in all of the hugging and yay, everything's gonna be fine, Lycius manages to run off and start attacking a room of like 40 warlord dudes, and there's like this big fight scene, and everyone is fighting, and Xena is all like fighting with her hands, and Lycius is like, Xena, what are you doing? Take a sword. And she's all like, no, Lycius, I can't do it. I can't tell you why. And meanwhile, Gabrielle gets a sword and like skewers one of the warlord dudes, and it's just like, oh boy, okay. And she's all clearly fine with this. And I think honestly seeing that is what makes Xena decide to like suddenly just pick up a sword and stab somebody herself. So that does the trick, and Xena is magically transported back to the top of the show and everything is as it was, but she manages to not kill the one kind of like teenager with the big poofy hair that she killed the last time and sends him off with a stern warning. But before I go, a word from our disclaimer. Xena's memory was not damaged, or what was I saying? I just want to take a brief second to look and see what I'm using instead of a tripod. This is my giant stack of books on my bed, and it just keeps going, and it ends with the monster at the end of this book, because you can't really do better than Grover. But like, seriously, I need a freaking tripod.